And welcome to our last edition in this unit for our flipped learning class. Now today we're going to be looking at purifying water and how we can test impurities in water. Anyway, we'll go on to our objectives now. I hope you enjoy this video. Bye bye. Okay, so we're looking today at water purification and water testing, and we'll look at our objectives. So by the end of this video you should understand these three things: the water treatment process, the legal levels of some pollutants, and the reactions used to test for water purity. Water can come from four main sources. The first one is rivers. There's also lakes, reservoirs and aquifers, which are wells or boreholes. Now we can have a look at some data for the water sources in Northern Ireland, and you can see on here that the biggest source is of reservoirs. There's also one loch, but then we've got other lakes and lochs, rivers and groundwater. So that groundwater is water that you find underground which you can actually access. Now water is normally used for drinking or washing within the home, but you can also use it in industry for cooling or as a solvent or as a cheap raw material. Now in some parts of Britain there is such a high demand for water supply, so it's important that we don't waste it. Now before we can drink or use the water in industry, the water needs to be treated. Now what happens is we go through a water treatment process, and we get this first stage here where untreated water comes in and any insoluble material will form a sediment here at the bottom. So this is called sedimentation. Now from the sedimentation the water goes into the next stage, which is filtration, and this is where any other insoluble particles can be taken out of the water, and this is more for very, very small, very fine particles. Now after the filtration, what can happen is we go through the final part, which is chlorination, and this is where the filtered water has chlorine bubbled in through it. Now what the chlorine will do is it will kill any microorganisms that are in the water. Now the chlorine will bubble in and then bubble out, and the water will just pass through. Now water pollution can mean a number of things. Now when we get water from our tap, the water is not pure. So here we've got a glass of tap water, which is not just water. There are lots and lots of things that are dissolved into that water. So in order to get it absolutely pure, we would need to distill it. Now to distill water, what you can do is you can heat water, and the water will evaporate up through here, and then as it goes down this tube it will condense. And you can see in this diagram that we've got seawater or salt water. Now obviously we've got two-thirds of our planet is made up of salt water, so we do have an endless supply, or nearly endless, but unfortunately the costs to do this on an industrial scale are absolutely huge. So at the moment we can only use river water, or what we call fresh water, to do that. Now water pollutants are any chemical that are deemed to be poisonous to humans or to other living things. Now there are legal limits for different pollutants, and we've got three pollutants here. We've got nitrates, which you can often find in fertilizers. You've got lead, which it used to be quite a common anti-knocking agent in petrol and other sources. And then we've obviously got pesticides. Now you can see here the amounts are 50 parts in 1 billion parts of water, and that's parts per billion, and then 50 parts for the lead, and then even less for the pesticides at 0.5 parts per billion. So we can actually test for some of the dissolved ions that could be possible pollutants. Now, one of the pollutants could be a sulfate, which is an SO4 2- ion. And what we use for testing for this is normally a barium compound such as barium chloride. Now, barium chloride will react with a sulfate such as sodium sulfate, so if we have here barium chloride reacting with sodium sulfate, we will make a set of products which are barium sulfate and sodium chloride. Now, we should know that sodium chloride is soluble, but barium sulfate is insoluble, so we'll actually get a white precipitate forming, and we'll hopefully have a go at this in class. Now, other than sulfates, we can test for other anions such as the halides. Now, we can test for chlorides, bromides and iodides. Oh, spelled iodide wrong. Let's correct that one. So iodide, there we go. Okay, so we can test for these, and the way we can test for these is to use a chemical called silver nitrate. Now, silver nitrate will react with all of the halides to make an insoluble silver halide. So if we take, let's say, sodium chloride, and we react that with silver nitrate, we will end up with the silver chloride, which is solid, plus we'll end up with sodium nitrate. Okay, now what I'd like you to have a go at is see if we can write down all the equations for the three halogens. Okay, so sodium chloride, sodium bromide, sodium iodide with silver nitrate. See if we could do the word and the symbol equations for those. So you can pause the video and have a go at those now. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at those. We will have a look at these in class, but these are the results that we would expect to find. The first one is where we get chlorides. They will form a white precipitate here. The bromides will form a cream precipitate, which looks very much, I think, like clotted cream. And then you get the last one, which is a yellow precipitate. But all three of these are fairly pale in colour. Okay, so we have finished the purification and testing of water, where we have looked at sources of water, where we can get water from. How we go through the cleaning and purification of water. We've also looked at possible pollutants of water and their legal limits within the EU. We've also looked at testing for different anions and the sulfates and the halides within the water. Now, this is our final part of our flipped learning class for this Unit C for the periodic table. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got a lot from it. Anyway, I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.